going on, everybody? It's Aurora coming at you with a brand new video. So we finally have access to some of the first cards coming out of Cyberstorm Access, which for those of you that don't know is the upcoming core set after Photon Hypernova in February. And for the first reveals, similar to how we got Galaxy Eye stuff as the first reveals for Photon Hypernova, we have some cyber support coming out, obviously, and specifically being for Yusaku, the main character of VRAINS. And I think it's like some Firewall stuff, some things relating to like the fusion related things. Like I kind of went through like a really brisk skim, and I have gotten one of these cards spoiled already because for some reason Organization posted a random tweet thread saying what it does instead of posting this up first, so that was a bit weird. So I did have one of these spoiled, and it is the card that's on the cover. So while it's technically not an archetype, I like money, so I'm gonna go ahead and make a video covering this. Plus there's like a good few cards here. I think there's like 5 total, so we're gonna go ahead and go over some of Yusaku's new support. So it's going to show off, sorry about that little jump there. This is what the pack looks like. We got Firewall Dragon Singularity, which is the name of the new monster that is on the cover. And it is a Link 6, I will say that right now. So it's the second Link 6, I believe, in the game alongside Arrival Cyber's Adagnister, which is really funny because this card also works really well in Adagnister builds that are like super pure. So I don't know, that's kind of funny, but I do like the artwork. It reminds me a lot of Eternity Code. But let's go ahead and get right into these cards. So first off, we have Firewall Defensor. I think it means to say Defender. It is a level 4 Dark Cyberus effect monster with 1200 attack and 1500 defense. Says you can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is sent to the graveyard as link material for a Cyberus monster, you can special summon one Firewall monster from your deck except Firewall Defender, and you cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate the effect except Cyberus monsters. If a Firewall monster you control be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So this is clearly here to summon Firewall Guardian, I believe it is, from the deck. You have the Defender and the Guardian, and that actually works really damn well because basically, you can normal summon the Firewall Defender, use the Firewall Defender to go into something like a Lingeribo, or hell, you can even go into a Link Disciple and go for a full Link Disciple DOT combo, but you can do something like that and then special summon the Firewall Guardian from your deck, and the Guardian will actually special summon itself back if it's used as Link material, so you can probably use that for a really good Link climb into like a Link 4 to 6, depending on how you can actually play around it. I only know some of the generic Cyberus support stuff. I only like play Marincess in terms of Cyberus experience on my end, but this definitely has some good application here with the Guardian in particular, because I know there's a lot of pretty decent generic Cyberus Link ones that you can go into with this. Also, I guess if you run the new Firewall Singularity, this is a pretty cool protection effect. Next up, we have Firewall Phantom. Okay, so they actually have another Firewall monster that's a target. It is a level 5 Dark Cyberus effect monster with 2000 attack and 1300 defense. Says you can only use each effect of this card's name once per turn. If this card is sent to the graveyard as link material for a Cyberus monster, you can add one Signet Spell or Trap from your deck to your hand, then discard one card. You can banish this card from your graveyard. During the end phase of this turn, shuffle a Cyberus monster from your graveyard into the deck. So this also seems like a really cool target to summon off of Defender. It's probably the only, like, common way you're gonna be summoning this, unless like Cyberus has some really awesome shit that can get this out from a hand or deck otherwise. But this is actually a pretty cool effect. I mean, it's kind of just a worse microcoder in that sense, because if I recall correctly, microcoder can not only search a Signet Spell or Trap from deck without having to discard a card if it's used as material, or it can search a level 4 Cyberus if it was used on field, but it can also be used in hand, so I'm pretty sure microcoder is just a better card overall. But this does get summoned off the Firewall Defender, so you can go ahead and go into like some like jank little plays there. But this does add things like Signet Mining, which can give you another extender. It can add Signet Conflict, which is a literal Omni Negate. And you can even add things like Signet Crosswipe, which is really good for outing things like Mystic Mine on your opponent's turn. So really good card here overall, though being level 5 might make it a little bit cringe, not gonna lie. So next up we have Cyber Sage. This is a level 1 Dark Cyberus Ritual Tuner Effect monster. That is a mouthful. It has 0 attack and defense. You can ritual summon it with Signet Ritual, and you can only use each effect of this card's name once per turn. During your main phase, you can fusion summon a fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials mentioned on it from your field and or graveyard, including a Cyberus monster. If this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can target one Cyberus monster or a ritual spell in your grave and add it to your hand. So basically, this looks to be a jack of all trades monster. It is a tuner, so you can go into synchros with it. It lets you fusion summon on summon. It is a ritual in itself. It's a level 1, so you probably have a lot of access to easy link plays. I don't know necessarily how good it'll be in a vacuum, because I know the other Cyberus rituals really don't see playing, even like the Adagnister ones. So I don't know. I mean, adding things back from grave if it's used as synchro material, it seems pretty neat. Maybe we'll see some jank play with it, maybe in something like adding Nister that can actually utilize it being a tuner and using it for synchro fodder really well. But other than that, I don't know, even though that seems like it does a lot. We'll just have to see how good this fusion is, actually, for the fusion summon effect, because now we have Cyber's Disabworm? Oh yeah, okay, so it's Disabworm, like disable, okay. So, level 6 Dark Cyber's Fusion Effect Monster, 2300 attack and 1500 defense. It requires a Cyber's Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster, plus 1 Cyber's monster. Okay, so you can go ahead and use the Sage plus anything in your grave for it. That's pretty cool. And you can only use each effect of this card's name once per turn. During your main phase, you can special summon a Cyber's monster from your hand, then this card's level becomes that monster's. When your opponent activates a spell or trap card or effect, and you control a Link 4 or a Cyber's monster, quick effect, you can banish this card from your field or graveyard to negate the activation. So this card actually seems really interesting, so it's probably really easy to get out on board, especially if you do go for the route of Sage, but there's probably some other ways you can easily go into it as well. Being able to summon any Cyber's from your hand will help unbrick cards like Firewall Phantom or any other like Cyber's monsters that are a bit high level, but it also triggers effects of things like the adding Nisters, which is really cool. And I really like the Spell or Trap negate by banishing it from field or grave. For a second, I thought you had to have 8 on field as well, and like it was just an activated negate. But having it in grave as a quick effect for a free Spell and Trap negate is really nice. I feel like, again, adding Nister can probably like abuse this in some way. They probably just have to like change the route of their combo. I don't really know, honestly. We'll have to see exactly what it does from the people in my comments that usually come in and immediately tell me what you can do with these cards. Ooh, so we actually have a lot more cards left to go. I thought this was going to be the last card, but no, this is going to be a long video, guys. We are seeing a lot of new Cyber's cards. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people have already seen this, but this is Firewall Dragon Singularity. It is a Link 6 Dark Cyber's Link effect monster with 3500 attack. It has top left, top right, left, right, and bottom arrows. It requires 3 or more effect monsters, and you can only use each effect of this card's name once per turn. Quick effect, you can target cards your opponent controls and or in their graveyard up to the number of different types of monsters, Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, and Xyz you control and in your graveyard, return them to the hand, and if you do, this card gains 500 attack for each card returned. If a monster this card points to is destroyed by battle or sent to the graveyard, I think it's supposed to say battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one Cyber's monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So this seems pretty bloated in theory, and I find it really funny how a lot of cards now are getting graveyard interrupts for things like tier, but I think this is an overall fine boss monster. Much like Dark Fluid, it requires you to have different types in your, like different types of monsters, sorry, not different monster types, in your graveyard or in your field. So again, it's kind of like tailor-made for adding Nister, at least for the builds that are trying to play all of like the Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, whatever, even though it's very uncommon. It seems like a very strong effect, especially because the attacking, keep in mind, actually isn't temporary, it's a permanent attack boost. So this could end up being really explosive, but it does rely on you having a lot of different types of cards in your grave, which could be annoying to get. I do like that it targets cards on the like your opponent controls and in their graveyard, so it's on field and in grave. So again, that does stop things like the tier cards, but I feel like it's a bit difficult to actually resolve due to the amount of things you need in grave, because it doesn't count for links at all. I think this is a really cool way to tie in the original Firewall Dragon by giving you a free special summon if something leaves the field that it's pointing to. So that could be really good for getting any Cybers from your grave back. That can get you back any boss monster you really feel like. But I feel like overall you'd rather just make a rival Cybers if you can, unless you're playing a very specific jank build to get this card out. So next up we have Protect Code Talker. Finally, a new Link 3 Code Talker. We haven't seen one of these in a while. So it is a Link 3 Dark Cybers with 2300 attack, has top, left, and right arrows. It requires 2 or more effect monsters, and you can only use its second effect once per turn. Your opponent cannot target Link 4 or higher Link monsters you control with card effects, also they cannot be destroyed by battle. If you control a Firewall Link monster quick effect, you can banish any number of Link monsters from your graveyard, whose total Link relatings equal exactly 3, special summon this card from your graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. I mean, this isn't terrible, but I feel like you'd rather just make like a trans code and then go for an access code and go for a lot of damage. I mean, like, yeah, honestly, I feel like this card's just kind of meh. you'd rather just play anything else. Next up, we have Sign It Rollback. So this is a quick play spell card that says you can only use each effect of this card's name once per turn. You can target one of your banished Cyberus monsters and special summon it, and during your main phase, if you have 2,000 life points or less, you can banish this card from your graveyard, and then target 2 of your banished Cyberus monsters and add them to your hand. So other than using something like Sage and like the Protect Code Talker or whatever, okay, maybe the Disable Worm or whatever, I feel like other than these cards in particular, you're not going to be banishing your Cyberus monsters enough for you to warrant playing this card, because if you are banishing them, it's probably for archetypal reasons, and they either don't need to come back, or they can be recovered via the archetype. This feels just kind of like a brick, to be honest. Also, having to have 2,000 life points or less just to add 2 specifically banished Cyberus and not even engrave is pretty underwhelming. Finally, we have Sign It Circuit. This is a normal trap card that says you can only use each effect of this card's name once per turn. Target a Firewall Link monster you control. Special summon any number of monsters from your graveyard to either field so they are linked to it. If you have 2,000 life points or less, you can banish this card from your graveyard, return a Firewall Link monster from your graveyard to the extra deck, then you can special summon it from your extra deck. I do like that the first effect says so that they are linked to it rather than it points to them, because that means you can take something like your Firewall Dragon Singularity and just summon a bunch of link monsters under it instead of just summoning it into one zone, as long as the link monsters point to it. I think that's really good for... is it Splash Mage? Yeah, so you can actually go for like a Splash Mage, which could be really cool. Kind of wish it actually just said a really big Cyberus Link monster you control instead of a Firewall Link monster, because then you could summon things to Bomber Dragon Zone or Zeraboros and like mutilate your opponent. The Graveyard effect seems cool. I mean, this doesn't have like any restrictions or anything. It doesn't have to be Link summoned, and you get better arrows. So like if this ends up dying, you can just bring it back in a very poor game state on your end, and you have access to all of its effects immediately. I think that's really cool. Would I recommend this actually seeing use in a dedicated Cyberus deck? Maybe. I mean, I'm not really one to judge on that. I don't really play those kind of decks. I don't really see much of them going around. I just know, again, know like Morincess, Mathmech, stuff like that, adding Nister. It does seem a bit specific, but I think it could have its uses. I don't know. It seems kind of neat to me. But with that out of the way, it looks like that is it for all of these supports. So that is a lot more than I expected. I came in here expecting to see all the way down to the Singularity, but then we had 3 more cards after that, so this could end up being a very long video. Hopefully it's not. But regardless, I hope you all did enjoy. So I feel like these cards are pretty cool. I think Firewall Defender is probably one of my favorite ones. You can special summon the Guardian from your deck, and then the Guardian can summon itself back. You can easily climb into like a Link 4, 5, whatever from there, because you can like normal this, go into Lingaribo, and then like effect of this, summon the Guardian, and then go into something else, and then just go into a bunch of extension from there. Unfortunately, I don't think you can go into Splash Mage immediately, right? Yeah. Oh, no. Actually, no, you can. You can. I'm stupid. I'm thinking of Heat Soul. So you can actually go into a Splash Mage summon this back, Guardian summon itself back. That's like free Link 4 access right there, free Heat Soul access into a Link 4. I think that's really cool. I love when Cyberus just gets like random 1-card access into things like a huge access code. I think that's so funny. Firewall Phantom is pretty neat. I like being able to add a Sign It spell or trap other than out of microcoder, though the discard could be annoying, but I guess the point is to add these new cards and then discard them from their grave effects. Cyberus Sage seems a bit specific, but it's probably going to be really good in certain combos, especially to access Cyberus Disable Worm. Singularity feels really bloated, but also at the same time being kind of mid. I think, again, it'll have its dedicated usage, but it would have to be in a deck, in my opinion, that's actually committed to it. Like, I've seen certain Adagnister decks, for example, like dedicate to Dark Fluid instead of going for like any other plays. Protect Code is very underwhelming, in my opinion. Like, the targeting protection is just eh. And then the battle protection, I mean, it's a Link 4 or higher. It's not really going to be destroyed by battle very often. If it protected by destruction with card effect as well from things like access code, that'd be really cool. Otherwise, no. Rollback seems very, very specific. And then Circuit feels very funny to me. Do I think any of these are going to make any generic, like, Code Talker cyber strategies come up and, like, be super dominant or anything? Absolutely not. But I do think each of these cards has some form of use, or at least most of these cards have some form of use in other Cybers decks, and I'm kind of excited to see what the dedicated Cybers players end up coming up with. But that's just my opinion. Let me know yours down in the comments below, because that's going to do it for the video. If you liked it, please sure to leave a like, as helps put this video and the channel into YouTube recommended. And if you like this content and you want to see more like it, like the rest of my review series, I try to review every new wave of support that comes out, and every new archetype that comes out, as long as there are at least 2 cards. Then perhaps consider subscribing, because we're going to try to get to 2,500 subscribers by the end of 2022, which is approaching fast. But once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. It is Aurora, signing off.